Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Chase with Jace, and once again, back here with me is the former LSU quarterback, Marcus Randall, Woodlawn head coach as well. Marcus,
What's
good
up,
for you to
baby?
be back on.
What's up, baby? Hey, glad to be here, man. Talk a little football, man. I'm trying to bounce back, man. Bounce back this week.
Yeah, turn the page, flip the script, and that's what Brian Kelly says. Like, that's the beautiful thing about football. It's an opportunity for you to really have a chance at the next week to really bounce back from the week before. And
Right.
That's what LSU has a chance to do.
Right, and that's sports. And I know sometimes with football, though, those could seem like a long time in between because you play it. It always takes you a whole nother week. It ain't like basketball or baseball where you got 2 days where you don't have to really worry about it as much and you can get right back in there after the day 2 or day 3. Man, it's a process of 7 days, but it also gives you a chance to kind of go back and evaluate some of the things that we was able to see from week to week, and to give you a chance to come back out and show if you've improved on those things.
Well, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting a little bit, Marcus, but we're going to have to go back and talk a little bit about that Tennessee game. It's just kind of like you have to pull the Band-Aid off and just
dive in, man.
Just dive into it.
Let's not even play with it, man. Let's go with it.
Yep. So early on, it was a good environment. Early on, really a lot of Tennessee fans showed up. I mean, like when I pulled up in the parking lot,
Right.
It was a lot of orange everywhere you went. So the Tennessee Vols, they made the travel, and then actually at the Woodlawn game,
That's what I'm about to tell you. That's why I knew it was a lot of fans, because I ended up seeing some of the fans at the Woodlawn at our game, that Thursday. So they must have came down early as well. And obviously, remember, we got a guy that's going to Tennessee, so it was probably a 2-for-1 for some of those guys. Game on ESPN too as well, so they got a 2-for-1 coming down here to this LSU game.
Now it has to make Jordan really feel really good that
Right.
these Tennessee fans, they went to the Woodlawn game, say,
Right.
let's see one of our future guys.
Well, I saw the pictures of some of them, so I thought he knew those people that was behind. I didn't know that they were just fans that just decided to come to the game to watch him play in his high school game. Man, that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, and I noticed a little bit of side action. I bet there was some trash talking during the week between Ricky and Jordan just because of this game.
It was a little bit. I think they had some kind of little friendly bet there going on, but hey, and that's the part of the brotherhood. That's the part of the thing. They get a chance to play against each other in college. He'll get a chance to play against a lot of guys that he had a chance to play with or against on Thursday night, there, because you got guys like Ashley Williams going to Auburn, that's going to be in the SEC. You got
LSU and Alabama quarterback.
You got Alabama quarterback over there, so a lot of these guys will be either playing with each other or against each other still for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and actually we should talk a little bit about that before we go to LSU. On national television, I know that was the aim when I had you from one of the first shows that we talked about, highlighted. It was the hype, like the most hyped marquee game. Everybody wanted to be there, and it showed. I mean, it was a packed crowd.
Right.
You gotta get yourself there early, like we were saying, or you're not gonna get yourself a spot. ESPN was there all week for you during the week. Just what was that whole week like with ESPN coming into town?
Oh man, it was different. Obviously, it had more of a college feel going on, with the work and the things you had to put in place with all of the guys with the commentating, all the things you had to do and give them all of the information so they could be accurate on calling the game. So it kind of felt like a college game and a college field. All the guys in there putting all the stuff up around the field and all of the attention that was going on, and everybody came in early with all of the tailgating and all the things that was around the game, man. All of the pageantry, man. It just felt good. It gave our guys an opportunity to be on a big platform.
And I'm happy for those guys. They worked so hard throughout the whole off season for them to get that opportunity. Even though there's a lot of players that will be playing SEC football, there's still a lot of players that may not get this opportunity ever again to actually do something like that.
And has to go off to those guys that like you just said, a lot of the guys that have never probably had this chance to play on national TV ever again moving forward. So those guys get great opportunity. Both programs and both schools got a chance to be highlighted. And not just those schools, our whole Baton Rouge and surrounding areas got a chance to just highlight the talent and the coaching and the style of football that we play down here.
obviously didn't go the way that y'all want to on Thursday night, but it's still, like, as far as, like, the top, as far as Louisiana high school football, Zachary's up there. Like,
Correct.
they're at the very top. They're at the very peak. So how'd you feel that your guys really played to that level, playing against a team that's really, set the tone, has been the pinnacle of Louisiana high school football the last 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, I think that they came out and played, played tough on all three phases. Obviously, like we saw that the score maybe didn't indicate all of that, but I think our guys came out, especially during the first half. I think that might have been our best half of football. Turnover free. We had some turnovers on fourth down that our defense was able to get. After the long drive, bend but not breaking. But a lot of things that we had been kind of concentrating on. Protecting the football. We didn't turn it over. And like I say, it was 14-6 at the half. Still was down, but just the aura that was around and the physicality that we was able to play with and match those guys. I was very, I don't want to say impressed, because that would make it sound like I didn't think we could play with them. But no, I was glad to see us come out and play that style of football. I would have hoped that we was able to sustain it through all 4 quarters. Obviously that's something else that we got to continue to work on as we go deeper into the district and getting ready for the playoff.
Yeah, as we were talking about the game, there's actually Andy was at the game, so he took a lot of pictures from the game. So as we were talking about, you saw all the pictures that Andy took, and actually did a little weekly magazine about all the pictures, showing all the pictures from the game and everything since he was there. So make sure to check that out, Gridiron Football, USA.com. And also, Marcus, moving forward, what's really been the challenge, because you get so hyped up during the week. ESPN's coming to town. You're playing Zachary. You're playing these guys, and you're playing like that week. You're going to get hyped up, obviously, for a matchup like that. What's just really been the challenge to really get back to earth and just really focus on the next couple of games coming up? Because I know that was always a game that was going to be circled.
That was always circled. That was always on there. Ever since they got the call that ESPN, it was coming, and not just for our program. It was for our AD in the district. Everybody started working, putting some stuff together on the field, adding to the press box. So all this been going on all year long. So now, the game is over, so we get a chance to go back and back to the drawing board. We got our next district game coming up this week against Liberty, and we done refocus and got back ready for the go 1-0 this week.
Yeah, it's a final stretch. It's crazy to think about it, but it's the final stretch of the season, and then I believe so Liberty, y'all have Liberty, Scotlandville, Catholic, and Central left on the schedule. So it's really the district stretch coming up.
Yep, and man, we're excited about it, and it's a new district that we're in. So this is a newly formed district, so we eager to play through it and just see where it falls. I know, like we talked about Zachary being the top, and I know that we just played him and lost to him, but man, it's easy that nobody can go undefeated in this district easily.
Yeah,
so
right.
So we just got to keep on pushing.
Yep, just focus one game at a time, it's a perfect transition because LSU really needs that same mentality. Just focus one game at a time, and we'll talk a little bit about it with Tennessee. Good crowd. It was early in the morning. It was beautiful weather, by the way, that morning. You were feeling pretty good, but the night before, LSU took a big hit, even a night before the game, with Will Campbell being now at left tackle, with his medical scare. And really, kudos for LSU to make the decision, we're not going to risk anything. Make sure that everything is fine with Will. Make sure that his health is in good standing, and make sure that he's recovering from that, because you don't know what other circumstances could be arising with somebody's health on the line.
Right, and like you say, you would never want to see a guy go down, especially a starter, and especially not that late in the week, man. It's hard to make adjustments, even though you prepare for those things. But when you're going in with a game plan, and now your offensive coordinator may have to switch up some things, or switch up some of the ways he was going to call some of the things, by different guys being in the game. So that that was a hard break right there. But like you say, hopefully he's getting everything he needs to be able to bounce back and shake back and be back on the football field.
Well, good news about Will, and Coach Kelly did say about it. He was released from the hospital yesterday, around that morning, and actually the signs are pretty good. And it's not been confirmed, but the signs are pointing at it could be pretty good for him to even be back for as soon as the Florida game. So that's good news. But there are also some bad news because Garrett Dellinger, who's your left guard, he went down during the game, and he's probably arguably your best lineman, and he goes down, and Kelly did say he's going to miss probably a couple weeks. So Florida, Ole Miss, and with the bye, he may not be back until Alabama game.
That's a big loss. Which is another, hit that we definitely don't want to see. But that's why we recruit. That's why we got guys, ready to go, and we always got to have those guys next up because they know they're always one play away from having to be in there and playing.
And I mean, going back to as a former player, just having something like that happen to Will, a former teammate of yours, someone that you grinded with the whole season, to see something like that happen, how much of a toll that really takes on you mentally, especially when the game is just a couple hours away.
Right. Well, like I just said, I mean, these are guys that been preparing all week for a big game, for a big showdown, and you've been getting everything together, getting all your calls together, getting all your communications together, and then boom, man, you can't get in there, you can't fight with your brothers. Now you got to be sidelined and kind of see it, and then your brother got to see you, being sidelined and knowing that if you were in there, you could probably make a different impact. So I mean, those are just things, but that was a part of the game. I mean, you got to have those other guys ready to step up and go. So, I mean, I think that we do know that while we playing this game, that, it could be any play. That's why we always use the obvious phrase, play every play like it's your last.
Yeah, so that Nick Saban mentality, just focus on the next play and nothing
baby.
Else. That's all. Don't focus on the scoreboard or anything else. Just focus on the next play. Just the way the game started, especially against a really good Tennessee team like that. It's been a common trend for LSU all year. They've started off slow. Like they would go into a 10-0 hole, a 14-0 hole against Auburn, a 17-0 hole. You cannot do that against Tennessee, especially a team that's rolling like that. And then on special teams, right at the opening kickoff, Jack Best fumbles, and then Tennessee recovers, and really with two back-to-back bad special teams plays by LSU, you're looking up, it's 10-0.
Right, fast.
It's like 3 minutes into the football game.
It was fast, 10-0. I was thinking some of the same thing, like, whoa. I know we've been starting a little slow, but if we start slow here with this pace of offense, man, this couldn't be good for us right now. I was thinking maybe we go in and offensively try, put some drive together, keep their offense off the field. But when you have turnovers, man, that can kill you. And right off the bat, turnovers jumped in there, and that made a quick impact of the game.
Now, a lot of people did not agree with Kelly actually getting the first, receiving the ball when he won the coin toss and he won the football. I actually love the call. You have to be aggressive and set the tone against the team.
But I don't want to put their offense on the field and they go down. And I mean, in your mind, so if you're looking at it, why would I put their offense on the field to gain momentum? I already know that we've been starting slow.
Yeah,
so let's at least, whether we score or not, let's put some drive together. Let us take some time off the clock, get ourselves together, get something going. It just obviously it didn't work out that way.
And the key stat throughout the entire game that you need to know was that Tennessee was 3 for 3 on fourth downs. LSU was 0 for 3 on fourth downs. That was really the stat.
Man, some of those calls. That was early, man. I mean, they questioned, but I'm a coach, so you never can really coach because you never know why somebody do what they're doing. I know that there's different things in the game where you're supposed to do certain things, and certain things supposed to happen, or you're supposed to make certain calls at certain times, but you never know why or what the game plans were. But I definitely know right there at the end of the half, it looked like we had, right across midfield, and we got a good drive going on. I think there was some momentum coming, and I know that we was probably in the mindset right there. It was with 20-7, and we were looking to at least try to get a field goal, cut it down, and then
maybe 20-10 at halftime.
And it just didn't happen. And I think that we kind of pressed there. We kind of pressed, and trying to go for it right there on fourth down at the end, and ended up going down 23-7 right before the half. And I think that right there kind of put us in a deep hole right there.
I felt like the second one I totally agree with, going on fourth down for the second one, but the first one and the third one, at the time of the game, I just didn't feel like that was the right call.
like you say, I mean, you never want to question a coach. That's the old player.
Yeah.
You know, I never want to question a coach, and because if he calls, he feel we can get it, then we got to get it. But there are calls in the game where some people that kind of analyze the game and look at it and be like, why we did this one. You never know why, unless you're gonna ask him. But those are just some of the things that happen in the game. Because if we get the first down, then obviously everybody.
Genius call.
That's mine.
Right.
But those are just some of the things that happen in the game, and those are some of the things that whether you get it, then if you get it, then obviously it was a great call. If you don't get it, then everybody looking at you. So that comes with comes with being the head coach, comes with being in that position.
Well, that was really a 10-point swing at the end because Tennessee added 3 more points at halftime. They got the ball first in the second half. Yeah. They go right down the field and score a touchdown, and all of a sudden it's outreach at the beginning of the third quarter. It was just one of those games, and nothing went right for LSU, and it happens. And really against a team like that, those teams are going to take advantage of plays like that.
Man, I think they run a unique style offense.
Yeah, really
not only are they going fast, but I think they got the record of running the most plays in games. They're trying to get it out underneath X amount of seconds. I think 29 seconds. They're trying to get their plays out. But I did see at times where they slowed it down and got the plays that they wanted, got the looks that they wanted, and they was able to capitalize on those. And just another thing that just their style of offense that I see that gave us some problems. They had some wide splits with those wide receivers. They was almost to the side. They was almost like on the sideline. So now putting all DBs in all this space, and now it just looked like the field was just so wide open. And I know that's part of their offense. So I think that was very unique, and that gave us a lot of problems just spacing wise.
I feel like that Tennessee spends a lot of time doing the Oklahoma drills because with those receivers and then having the receiver out and blocking for them right in front of them, I feel like that they spend a lot of time doing those type of drills. So basically what I saw.
Well, you got to take your edge defenders and you got to do something with it. You either going to have to walk them out there closer to those 2 receivers out there, and now you can't help on the run. Or you're going to come in a little closer and be in your normal position, but now it's harder to get out there. And like you say, now the quarterback can just raise it up, throw it out there, and they way out there. And now, it's like you say, it's a one-on-one block with a ball carrier right behind you. So now
it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. Yep. So they're taking great advantage of that, and that's why we're seeing them be able to be successful because they are mastering the spacing of the field, and the quarterback able to manage that with the receivers and those skill guys. Man, that's gonna be hard to compete with just because of one thing. Not many teams doing it like that, not spacing wise. Yeah. So you start teaching your techniques and teaching your coverages and teaching it, and you're doing it from a conventional standpoint of where you should be 4 and 3 outside that tackle. Split the difference between this guy and the end guy on line of scrimmage. So when you got that going on, but they not in normal alignments,
right?
So now it kind of puts you in like that no man's land, and I think that we had trouble adjusting to that. And then once we did try to adjust it, then they was able to, and we were paying a lot of attention to trying to stop the quick game, then they were hitting us over the top. So they kind of had us off balance right there.
Yeah, I mean, they were in rhythm all night calling plays, and they actually gashed LSU in the run game too. That was another really surprising part for me, that they were able to gash LSU as bad as they did running the football. 239 yards passing for Hendon Hooker and 2 touchdowns. Right now, to me, it seems like he's my favorite for the Heisman Trophy, the way he's playing right now.
Yeah, man, he's playing at a high level right now, and that offense, they got a lot of confidence right now that they're playing with and being able to play fast and be able to make plays. And when you're able to it could be the gift and the curse. Now, if you're able to play fast and you ain't getting nowhere, and you just getting off the field fast.
Your defense in that situation all
so you just getting off the field fast. But when you in rhythm like those guys were Saturday and was able to just keep the ball moving, they was either getting first downs or touchdowns. So when you got that going on, man, you guys, you into it, man, your confidence high, and you just trying to get out there and just keep the wheel rolling.
And one of the biggest disappointments too was that Harold Perkins for LSU didn't really see the field that much a lot, and he was really as far as the top 3.
One of the guys,
he's
right?
one of the guys. You talk about B.J. Ojolari and Jay Ward, he's with those guys. He's a freshman. But that was a surprising move that we didn't really get to see a lot of a number 40 during the football game.
And maybe, and that could, again, a lot of that's just schemes. A lot of that's coaching. Maybe they not, feeling comfortable with him being able to make the reads and be able to make the checks as fast as they knew Tennessee was going to go by him being a freshman, being able to get the calls and all those different things. So I know that can obviously play a part in, playing, a young guy in that situation.
So overall, LSU outgained. They were outgained by Tennessee, 502 yards to 355. And moving to the offensive side of the football, everybody thought that this would finally be the game. LSU takes advantage and has a big day through the air. Because Tennessee's secondary came in, their cornerback was out for the season. They weren't really good against the pass. They're actually one of the worst in the country against the pass. So you thought with these receivers, this could finally be the game that LSU gets rolling the passing game. But it was, once again, it just wasn't consistent. There were plays that Daniels made, but it was sporadic throughout the game.
Right.
I feel like. What were your thoughts on just how the offense looked on this past Saturday? Because everybody has a lot of mixed feelings right now about Jaden Daniels.
Well, I saw the same offense I've been seeing all year long. Guys that, as the offense get rolling, I know Jaden Daniels do a lot with his legs, and I think that he has, made some runs and made some things. But I think that some of those things are some of the things that Brian Kelly has been asking him to, do more of as far as getting the ball out your hands. Because when you start playing against fast defenses like you have at Tennessee, and they don't feel like you're going to really throw the ball, you want to scramble, they're going to have you guys fast enough to run you down that's in the box, that can keep you contained. And now, if you haven't been working on those things, I saw one play where I think it might have been third down, and they clearly wanted him to work just one-on-one. Man, take a shot, our guy versus their guy, get the ball up.
Yep.
And we kind of ate the ball, and we didn't make the throw, and I think we maybe take a sack or a negative play. So, but I could see him clearly. Brian Kelly over there basically is trying to say, like, man, take the one-on-one shot. The one-on-one. If we got dogs that we say we got, out here at wide receiver, anybody going one-on-one, and we know that, like you just stated, man, they not very good in the passing game. We want the one-on-one shot, man. Give it to us and see if our guy can make a play, because either we can get the. It's a lot of good things that can happen in one-on-one, because, like you say, pass interference, we catch the ball, or nobody catch it, and we line up and we play another down. But we got to take those shots.
When he showed confidence, and that was one of my early takeaways after the Mississippi State game. That was when he started throwing it downfield one-on-one to Malik Neighbors. Good things happen when you trust those guys in one-on-one situations. And really, Tennessee, there were sharks, smelling blood in the water because of the offensive line situation. And usually those teams, they don't just play aggressive on offense; they play aggressive on defense too.
Correct.
So they're coming after.
Once you get that momentum and you get that confidence going, and now I can pin my ears back, because now you behind on the scoreboard. I know you gotta take more chances now. So now, I can pin my ears back and I can just come. Yeah. So with a banged up line, that's not a good situation just to be in.
Yeah, only 55 yards rushing. Well, they were in this type of football game where they couldn't run the football because you're matching tick for tat with that offense, and LSU's just not built to play in a shootout type of game with Tennessee. They're just not right now.
No, and I know that's unfortunate. And we've been able to, still be in a great place record-wise by doing it the way we've been doing it. But we're going to have to be able to, move the ball down the field. And we're going to have to run the ball. We're going to still have to be able to run the football. But we're going to have to be able to push the ball down the field using the passing game.
I think everybody is panicking right now and freaking out about LSU and how they look. I think this game was a unique situation. Just because the team that you're playing, you're not going to play many quarterbacks like the one you just played on Saturday.
Right.
You're not going to play an offense as fast-paced as you just saw this past Saturday. And with all the other situations in the football game, it's not going to look like that every single week. And LSU, you look back, like Mississippi State is playing really good football right now, and their worst quarter of the season came against LSU. So you just have to take these one game at a time and move on to the next week. And LSU has a chance to flip the script, but it was a disappointing day indeed. They lose to Tennessee 40-13. There was a lot of momentum because LSU was ranked in the top 25. You have them at home at Tennessee. But Tennessee was just a better football team at that point, and they're the better program, more stabilized program with Josh Heupel really getting these guys really bought into what they're trying to do, and Brian Kelly's trying to do that in his first year.
And it's matchups, and it go down to matchups as well. You know, we may see somebody else that we feel or that's ranked higher in Tennessee that we match up, and he might see a better game. You know. Against that, and that's all through the SEC right now. You got teams that's coming as power teams. You got teams that's coming with the spread right now. Even when you talk about an Ole Miss, that's what Tennessee kind of remind me of.
Yeah.
But then you got teams like Georgia, Alabama. You know, the Auburn that's going to try to do it with the more power style.
Right.
You know, obviously they still got skill guys too, but they trying to impose their will more so.
Right.
Yeah. But just how I say that matchup Saturday just wasn't it just wasn't a good matchup for us right there. But I think if we see another team like that, the thing that we did learn from that game will help us as we go down the SEC stretch.
When Brian Kelly said it's a process. It's a process with his team, what he's trying to build, the culture he's trying to build. Look, when he took the head coaching job at the end of the last year, there were only about 40 scholarship players at that time, so he had to really go through the transfer portal and do all these kind of things in order to get his team at least in a competitive roster when you're playing in the SEC schedule. So, I know fans just ease the brakes a little bit, but it's this year one. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
You were there with the early years of Nick Saban.
Yep.
It was a process.
Yep.
It wasn't like you were just going to win national championships just starting off year one. It doesn't happen. It takes a couple years to really get the process working. But moments like this will help you in the long run.
Yep, and help you find those guys and help you see what you need to do moving forward.
And we're going to talk about moving forward because we definitely want to move forward from that football game.
It don't get any easier.
Yeah, it doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easier. That's a whole stretch.
So,
It does not. So this is like literally take it week by week because of how tough the schedule is.
Yep.
And next week you look. It's kind of like a mirror between these two teams with LSU and Florida. Both coaches they weren't SEC head coaches coming from somewhere else, and they're trying to establish their way of doing things with their new programs. Brian Kelly coming from the outside, really going to LSU, and then Billy Napier coming from the Sun Belt. That's a big jump to the SEC, and really both teams are really trying to figure it out along the way. There were some highs for Florida, some lows for Florida, and same for LSU. There's been some highs, there's been lows, there's been some inconsistency, and really both quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson's trying to figure out in the passing game, but he's a great athlete and he can run the football. And it's kind of the same thing with Jaden Daniels. Like he's trying to figure it out in the passing game, and he's a good athlete too. But there's a lot of mirroring images when you look at both LSU and Florida this Saturday.
Right, I think it's gonna be a good game. Like you say, both of them still trying. Both coaches trying to build their culture, put their stamp on the programs right now. LSU, Florida, always a big game, always a big rivalry style game. So I think it's gonna be a lot. I mean, we going down there in Florida, so I think that we're gonna definitely have to bring our hard hats because it's gonna be a great game. I think we're gonna have to play 4 quarters and be ready to go.
Well, LSU has to get ready for their running game because I looked at some of the numbers so far, and I was on the Florida podcast actually earlier this week, and they were talking a little bit. I was listening to it a little bit, but they can run the football really well. They average about 8 yards a carry.
Come on.
Yep. So like their running back, Montrell Johnson's been averaging about 8 yards a carry. He has 368 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then Trevor Etienne, who's the little brother of Travis Etienne, who was a star at Clemson with the Jaguars, he is the other running back. So they become a really good 1-2 punch. And they both really want this football game because they're both from Louisiana too. There's a lot of Louisiana connections with Billy Napier being at ULL. And then Corey Raymond
over there
was a long-time coach at LSU, and now he's on the other side of the fence at Florida.
And you got Jabbar Jaluk over there.
Yep.
You know, played at Southern, you know, from New Orleans, you know, that's down there at LSU.
Yep. I mean, I think when you were at Terra with Dad, Jabbar Jaluk was the head coach at the Car in the playoff game.
In the playoff.
Yep.
At Memorial Stadium.
Yep.
Sure it did. Yeah.
Yep, and you know that all those guys are really going to want this one against LSU.
It's going to be big. I mean, you know, you got guys over there that, you know, felt like they stint at LSU got cut short, or shorter. So, you know, but that's going to be a great game. You're going to go out there. I know that, you know, we'll be looking to bounce back and get well this week. But it's in the swamp.
Yeah.
In the swamp, so it's just easy in the swamp though. So
no,
we got to go down there. We're gonna have to go down there and like I said earlier, put 4 quarters together and be able to and you know better get some of those chunk plays, man. If we can get some of those chunk plays and protect the football. I think the 2 games. I mean, 2 of the games that we lost, Florida State, we had special teams turnovers.
Yep.
Last game. Turnovers, special team turnovers. So we definitely got to clear some of those things up, because if we give them extra possession, that's where we can be in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And you cannot start off slow. LSU somehow got away with it against Auburn.
Right.
But on the road in a tough environment like that, you just cannot let a crowd affect the game, especially when you're the enemy going into the game, and then the crowd's amped up. You have to quiet them quickly in order for
take
you
them out the game.
Take them out the game.
Yeah,
that's really the
quiet
key.
them, take them down out the game. Yep. So I think that's going to be one of the things, like I said, and I think not turning the ball over would be one thing, and being able to get some of those chunk plays, or you know, keep that quiet, keep that, you know, that crowd very quiet over there.
LSU's receiving course is really dangerous. You're just waiting for just that light to turn on. And I think at any moment, at one of these SEC games, I think it's bound to happen. It's just about when it's going to happen.
Well, I think the light's on. Maybe we just got to, like you say, get it down the field to them. I mean, 'cause I just saw, even last game, when we let the ball go, Brian Thomas going up making big catches. I mean, like, he just looking big out there on the field. I mean, some of them that might have looked like his reach, he was able to get them. I mean, Malik Neighbors, I mean, we making plays when the ball is out there.
We just haven't had the big, deep
We just
deep
haven't
shot
had the big shots yet, man.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to throw them.
Yeah.
So we just got to throw them.
Now, I found that as a little bit of a positive, because it seemed like Jaden Daniels, there were 2 or 3 throws he made that it seemed like he was more. There was one throw to Brian Thomas that 3 guys around him, and he
correct.
So he was like
I think that was the drag route that we come in. Then I saw one on the sideline that he kind of threw over a defender. He
Dre got it.
Yeah, Dre caught it right there. Bang. So I mean, you got guys out there, but we just got to give them the shot to go get it. You got to trust them. That's what it is. And I think that's it's halfway through the season, so that trust should be slowly getting built now. Because I know he has been protecting the football, and he's been efficient. So when you start looking at the stats of it, you see
he's been efficient.
Like, all right, well, but sometimes you can be a little too cautious with it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that now you got to let those guys help you that's around you, trusting those guys, and let them be your playmakers that they are.
It's hard to find that healthy mix of just like being aggressive, but at the same time not being too aggressive.
Right.
So I've had a lot of conversation with Jimbo on that fact.
Yeah, well, you got to be able to take your shots when you see them, and know when to hold them, know when to fold them. I guess that's part of playing the position. That's part of being the coach. So
LSU in the swamp. You played in the swamp. What's so unique about playing in that environment?
It's packed in there, man. You got the hedges going around your field, man. They coming in there with all of your swamp stuff going on. I mean, it's big environment. It's loud. Is it a night game or a daytime game?
It is a 6 o'clock night game.
So it's gonna be
crazy things.
Last time I played in there, 2004, it was lit up. It was lit up in there. Ready to go. We came out on top, but Joy died at the end. But so I'm looking for some of that good magic down there in Swamp City. Yeah, there's always been a weird game with something crazy happened. Les Miles had a couple fake field goals in that game,
And actually, LSU right now, Florida really wants this one because LSU's riding a 3-game winning streak against Florida the last 3 years. Their last loss came in 2018. That was Burrow's first year. So that was the last time Florida beat LSU. They beat Florida the last 2 years. They beat, obviously, 19. LSU won that game with Joe Burrow.
Yep.
But, yeah, Florida really wants this one bad. I mean, like, this rivalry is really
was that the shoe game?
Yep, the shoe game was involving that play. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So that was 2 years ago. And then last year, one of your former players, TDP, that was the game he broke the record off.
He broke the record.
Yeah, broke the record. That was last year.
Over and over.
Yep,
and
ran
over.
a counter.
Yeah.
So that's been the last 3 games in this matchup. I know Florida's like, man, like, because Florida.
Shout out to Tyrion Price, baby.
Yeah, doing good things for the 49ers right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome to see. Do you have a prediction for Saturday? I mean, I expect it to be really close, really going to the wire. This game is, no matter who's been the heavy favorite, this has always been a game that's come down to probably the final 2 minutes of the football game.
21-24 LSU.
24-21, I like it. It's gonna be a score like that because I think that both defenses are gonna be good. They're stingy, and the way that Florida's offense, they are a run-heavy team.
Yeah, they're run-heavy. So I think the times and limited possessions gonna be out there. I think that I think that we're gonna try to establish that run too as well. So I think that the clock gonna be steady moving, and it's gonna come down to field goal or a touchdown there late in the game.
I'm interested to see if this comes down to special teams because talking on the podcast with them, knowing that they cover Florida too, their special teams been struggling too. Okay. So if it comes down to special teams,
hey, that's a close game. That could be a close game, man.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Hold on to it, man. Hold on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be this Saturday, I believe, on ESPN at 6 o'clock. And it should be a really good football game. SEC cross-division rivals. And these two teams, let's just say they don't like each other.
Right,
These two teams do not like each other at all.
They go back for a long. This thing dates back for a long time.
Oh yeah, I bet Urban Meyer against Les, and Steve Spurrier in those days too.
Steve Spurrier, yeah.
Yep. So like it's definitely been a pretty crazy rivalry. And last thing, wrapping up, Coach. I know y'all play Liberty this Friday, and. Talk about the matchup. I know Caleb Jackson hasn't been playing with them for Liberty this year, but still they got a veteran quarterback in Colin Groves who makes a lot of really good plays. And what really sticks out to you most about Liberty in this matchup?
They like to spread the field. Like you said, they got a seasoned quarterback back there that can make plays with his legs and his arm. So we're going to definitely have to contain that guy. They got speedy wide receivers out there, so we're going to definitely have to play some great defense and be able to hold those guys down, and then offensively for us, man, we got to be able to run the football and make the easy throws when the throws are there.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if usually when both LSU and the Panthers had a tough week, both come back with a vengeance. Both bounce back.
That's how we come. Hey, that's all we know, man. On to the next week trying to get well.
Well, I was there for LSU's 2 losses, and I'm not sure what I don't enjoy hearing more for 3 straight hours. I'm not sure if it's the for 3 straight hours or Rocky Top. I mean, for 3 straight hours. I'm not sure which one I can handle even more. But being at the game for both times, it was pretty rough hearing the Seminole chant for 3 straight hours and Rocky Top for 3 straight hours too. Man. So yeah,
I'm not sure. We didn't mention one of our guys, man, that I seen get some time in at Tennessee, Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson was
to get a few, few plays in there. I saw him blow one of those blocking assignments, and it looked like they got him out of there, man. That was when the safety blitz.
Yeah, that's when Greg Brooks came in.
And we hit it. Man, I don't know how we didn't get that fumble.
That was the game. That described the game. Like when something went right. When something went right,
we brought the safety blitz perfectly, and he didn't see it. Sampson didn't do his dual read from the linebacker to safety. Again, that's tough for young guys to pick up a lot of those different things. We were talking about Harry Perkins. A lot of freshmen coming from high school, they're not. Man, I'm just looking at the linebacker. I ain't used to reading the linebacker to the safety that's blitzing off the top.
And actually, that was when it clicked for me knowing that it was Dylan Sampson. Like, what? Oh, yeah, that was Dylan Sampson from Dutchtown right there.
Yep.
That was the first moment it clicked in my like, wait a minute, that's right. That's Dylan Sampson.
But he must be doing some great things because they actually put him in the game and he's getting reps in there. So shout out to him.
Oh, he was a special player at Dutchtown. And it's great to see he's doing a lot of great things in Knoxville. So future's bright for him. I can guarantee it. So, Coach, any final thoughts just about LSU and just really the fan base right now? I know there's a lot of panic.
I just want everybody to just stay calm. Man, stay calm. Man, we know that. I mean, obviously we know what we came off the last 2 seasons. And we know that we're moving forward with a whole new regime that's getting this culture all the way built. Like you say, man, we only finished the year with 40 guys last year.
40 guys.
Man, we got a whole bunch of new guys that's having a chance to have to steal jail. I know that sounds crazy being, as many games that we in, but sometimes you got to see all these situations so you can coach them all up.
Right.
I mean, you got guys out there that need to be in certain situations, and a lot of times I can't simulate the game to you in practice the way it's going to really happen in the game. I know we try to, but until I see you in that situation and it's live, the lights on, the scoreboard on, and everything, I don't know how you're going to really react.
Yeah.
So that's where the coaching come in. I mean, I want to tell you, I don't want to tell you what to think. I want to tell you how to think. And that's what we go off of. So when you do see these situations, but I need to see you in them so I can be able to say, okay, hey man, what were you thinking there? Okay, well, no, I want you thinking this way. Yep. This is why we're doing these things. This is why we're making these calls in these situations and these things going on. So once you can get, guys to start getting their savvy up and their cerebral stuff up on what it is that we're doing as a whole, then you start seeing plays being made over and over and over. So I think that's coming.
Yeah, it's a lot of new coaching staff, all these transfers coming in that are first year with the program. It's a lot of new together, and we're at the halfway point of the season where really both the coaches know what they got from their guys and the players really know as well. So we're kind of that point in the first year that the coaches know what they got, the players know really settling into the system that at this point of the season is going to be more consistent on a weekend basis.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But, Coach, always a pleasure for you to come and join me on this segment.
Baby. Always a pleasure. It's going to be live this weekend, though.
Oh, man. Yeah. Hopefully we recap a LSU win over those Florida Gators.
I feel it, man. I feel it. Like you said, I think we're going to bounce back, and we're going to get right back on the winning track.
Yep. So LSU's looking to improve to 5-2. And then after that, you have Ole Miss at home, and then the bye week, and then the bad guys in red.
Big show. Yeah. And those guys had a injury. I don't know how much of an injury it was, but they battling a few too.
Yeah, they survived a scare against A&M.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So I mean, again, it's SEC play. It's SEC play, and we're here for it.
That should be a big game, too, in Knoxville on Saturday with Alabama and Tennessee playing this Saturday.
That's going to be lit.
We'll see. Bryce Young, does he play? Does he not play? I'm pretty sure he's going to play in that type of environment. But Hendon Hooker's playing really good. Covering LSU, you got to be the biggest Tennessee fans for that week, knowing Alabama.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of LSU fans will be cheering for the Volunteers this Saturday.
I ain't cheering for neither one of them. I wouldn't mind seeing a good football game, but I can't cheer for neither one of them.
Yeah, right. You cheer for the purple and gold.
That's
cheer for the LSU Tigers. Well, for Marcus Randall, this has been Slinging It with Marcus with Chase WIth Jace. When we come back, we're going to talk about some high school football, and then we got some interviews, Player of the Week. We got a lot talked about on the Chase WIth Jace. We're going to have a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk some more, but you just finished watching. Hope y'all enjoyed Slinging It with Marcus. And I actually got the opportunity to talk a little bit more LSU in Florida. Got a DM earlier this week from the guys at Stadium and Gale, an official Florida Gators podcast. And I appreciate those guys with Silk, Dan Thompson, and Nick De La Torre for messaging me and wanting me to be a part of their show. So here's actually a couple of snippets, a couple of clips of myself talking with those guys over there at Stadium and Gale, talking about the big Saturday game between the LSU Tigers and the Florida Gators. This is just what I had to say a little bit about the LSU Tigers this season, as I got asked about how the Bayou Bengals are doing under first-year head coach Brian Kelly. Check out those clips before we go to commercial break.
Excited to add Jace Lejeune, who covers LSU football. Jace, it's a pleasure to have you on this afternoon, my friend.
Oh, it's definitely a pleasure, and I appreciate y'all having me. And we know LSU and Florida is always a really good football game, always a really good rivalry. So it should be a great one in the Swamp on Saturday.
Yeah, we're excited. It should be a good game. Jace, talk to us a little bit. Obviously Brian Kelly comes in this offseason, notoriously not Billy Napier. So Brian Kelly joins the staff this offseason. Have a couple of have a little bit maybe of a rough start to the season with the loss to FSU in there. Team seems to turn it around a little bit, gets ranked. Does have a loss to Tennessee this weekend. Talk to us a little bit about the LSU season about halfway through so far.
Well, it's been up and down, as you can say, so far this season. And it's just really been a definition of this season for LSU is really the first half and second half. I mean, you look back, the first half against Florida State, it was not pretty. But in those games against Florida State, Auburn, and Mississippi State, those were not pretty first halves for the LSU Tigers. But I do give credit to the coaching staff for making a lot of adjustments in the second half. LSU almost came back and defeated Florida State. It took a blocked extra point at the end in order for them not to have a chance to go in overtime and perhaps even win that football game. But they ended the football game really strong against Florida State. And then Mississippi State. You look at Mississippi State this year, and they've been pretty dominant all year long except one quarter, and that was against LSU. When LSU outscored them 15 or 14 to nothing in the fourth quarter and got that victory. It was definitely the best quarter of the season for the LSU Tigers all season long. And then the Auburn game on the road, LSU was down 17 to nothing, and kudos to them. They come back, and Matt House did a great job of making adjustments in the second half, and LSU came back and fought through and won a, I guess not a pretty football game, but they ended up winning the football game, being on top at the end. So LSU has done a great job of battling through adversity and overcoming a lot of those deficits, but you could not have that happen against a Tennessee football team that was rolling, and it was the same song and dance all year. LSU gave up a big lead right at the start of the football game. You muffed the opening kickoff. You give Tennessee 7 points about a minute into the football game, and then also you go 3-and-out on offense. You punt the football to Tennessee. They get a 59-yard return with their punter making the tackle, and then they add 3 more points on the board. So 4 minutes into the football game, you're looking at the scoreboard and you're down 10 to nothing against a Tennessee football team that's really rolling. So slow starts have really played this football team. Slow starts and special teams have really played this football team all season long.
Stadium, and I think our defense need that because our defense has been terrible. What is your communication like? I know your offensive line has been struggling. So what's your communication like, and what's that? How you see that playing out on the road in the Swamp night game?
The LSU offensive line took a big hit this past week, and I think a lot of it had to do just with what happened with the freshman left tackle, Will Campbell. Will Campbell's a 5-star, highly talented, and has settled in pretty nicely at left tackle. That's not easy to have a left tackle out there on an island against some of these elite SEC defensive ends, and he's held his own, and he's played some really good football. And then the Friday before the Tennessee game, he has a medical scare, or he just passes out, and he had to be taken to the hospital, and obviously he didn't play in the Tennessee game. And then Garrett Dellinger during the Tennessee game, who's your starting left guard and arguably your best offensive lineman, he goes down during the Tennessee game. So right now, the whole left side of the LSU offensive line is kind of up in the air right now of what they're going with.
Is there an update on either one of their healths?
Well, it's good news for Will Campbell, and so he's actually going to be released from the hospital. I think about an hour ago he was released from the hospital. So it's good news, and it's good for him just health-wise. That he's okay, he's good,
and he's going to be fine. There's still a hurdle or two before LSU really decides what they're going to do with Will Campbell as far as playing this Saturday. But there is good news with that, and LSU is hopeful for Saturday. As far as Garrett Dellinger is concerned,
do you have a head injury?
It was really more due to like dehydration. It was just one of those instances where they didn't want to really risk it for Saturday because they're not sure if it was just dehydration or there was something else to it. So LSU played it safe there, and kudos for LSU for doing that, knowing that it was the young man's health on the line. You don't know what other circumstances there could be, but that's what was really the case for that as far as him not playing on Saturday. And then Garrett Dellinger, as far as what his update is, he's not going to play this week against Florida. He actually won't be back until probably the Alabama game is what they're hoping for. So he's going to miss this week against Florida. He's going to miss Ole Miss, and hopefully with a bye, he'll be back for the Alabama game.
Obviously, Jaden Daniels is a starter. What is going on at the LSU quarterback position, and what has Jaden done well this year?
Well, he's done a great job, especially in that Florida State game earlier this year, of escaping trouble. And really, in that Florida State game, you had a freshman left tackle making his first ever start. You had a whole new offensive line that was playing in the first ever game. There were not really, besides the receivers, we got Kayshon Boutte, and look at some of the receivers that they had. That was pretty much the only really experience that was coming back from that LSU offense the year before. So not really a lot of continuity. And really, Jaden Daniels was just trying making plays on his own, running the football. As you all know, he's an elite runner, and he can move the chains with his legs and make some plays with his legs. And he's been an efficient passer. But I think this year what's really hurt this LSU offense he hasn't been really decisive in taking a lot of deep shots, really taking a lot of deep throws. And all offseason long, a lot of people were bragging about how talented LSU's wide receiver core is. You look at Kayshon Boutte, who everybody was talking about being a top 5 overall pick before the start of the season, and it took the Tennessee game late in that Tennessee football game to get his first receiving touchdown of the season. So he just hasn't been aggressive throwing the football downfield. In fact, he only had 150-yard plus completion of the season, and that was in the game against New Mexico. So he hasn't really been aggressive throwing the football down the field. He has been efficient, and he has been able to make plays with his legs because he's an elite athlete, elite runner, but he hasn't been aggressive throwing the football down the field, and that's where you really have an advantage a lot of times with a lot of these great receivers around you.
You think that's from a lack of I'm sorry, real quick. Do you think that's from him not throwing the ball down the field? You think that's from a lack of receiver separating or confidence on his behalf?
It's a mixture of both. Because there are some times, and we have a good view of the press box. There are a lot of times that there are really open receivers, and he just doesn't see them, and he just sometimes the first, second read wasn't there, especially early in the season. The first and second read wasn't there. He just takes off and runs, and then the receiver breaks in late, or it's just really been a combination of a couple of different things. And sometimes he really, with a new receiving core, a new team, he's trying to get confidence in these guys, and he's trying to really learn how to play with these guys. So I think it was just really a mixture of that through the first couple of games. Now, I thought this past Saturday, there weren't a lot of bright spots for LSU against Tennessee, but I thought he was more aggressive throwing the football down the field against Tennessee's defense. They moved the football like
they been smoked.
Yep. They moved the football when between the 20s and everything. But when they went inside the red zone, when it was 3rd and 4th down, that was when they absolutely struggled, and it showed. So it's just a mixture of a couple of things: receivers not really breaking open some plays, and him happen to making a play, but also him sometimes not recognizing that his 3rd, 4th receiver was open.
Yeah, sounds familiar. LSU has an unbelievable receiving room and nobody to get in the ball. It feels like I've seen that or read that book before.
Oh yes, it's there's a lot of great receivers, and you look at it. I mean, LSU's always been known for their receivers. Even look back at the Les Miles era when they couldn't throw the football, and they had great receiver talent there. And it's the case this year, but I think a lot of people were pointing to Kayshon Boutte's struggles. Well, there are a lot of mouths to feed too. I mean, it's not just Kayshon Boutte. Malik Neighbors has been the leading receiver on this football team. Brian Thomas is a freak of nature, and I'm sure y'all going to get a chance to see that Saturday. I mean, he's 6'4", 200 pounds, and he's a long strider. He has all the physical attributes. And then you have a guy that Jack Best was the leading receiver last year as a freshman for LSU. Dre Jenkins has been a senior that's played a lot of big moments and actually was the player that won the football game, scored a game-winning touchdown against Texas A&M last year in that game. So there are a lot of really good receivers on this football team, but it's a lot of mouths to feed right now.
Out of here. What's your prediction for Saturday? It's a Saturday night game in the Swamp. What do you think happens?
What does LSU need to do to win this game?
That's a better question.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. As far as LSU and what they need to do to win this football game, well, it's something they haven't done all year, and that's start off games strong. And when you're going on the road against a hostile environment like Florida, you have to start the football game strong, and LSU hasn't been able to do that. So they need to really take advantage of starting games off strong, not keeping the crowd in the football game, and they really need to do that coming off a loss like they did against Tennessee, where they were embarrassed, they were blown out. So just really for the morale of the team, they really need to get going early in the football games. Now, give credit to LSU. I think what I like so much about this year's LSU football team is that they battle. And in the fourth quarter, they played their best football. They played their best football in the fourth quarter against Florida State to give them a chance. They played their best game against Mississippi State. That's really the only bad quarter Mississippi State has had all year long. And then the Auburn game, they shut out Auburn in the second half after being down 17-0. But they need to start off game strong and then take that into the fourth quarter with how they're able to finish football games. I feel like their strength and conditioning has been really good this year, but they need to be more effective, more efficient, and actually stopping Anthony Richardson in the running game and force Florida to beat you through the air. I mean, you cannot let Anthony Richardson, these great running backs at Florida, this offensive line for Florida is really good. You have to allow them to beat you through the air, and you have to stop the run first. And then for LSU, offensively, they need to get these receivers going, and they'll probably do a lot more 7-8 man protection just because the struggles the offensive line has had and the way the offensive line has really shifted around. So it's going to be really more emphasis on these receivers since there's so many great receivers. Get your best three guys out there. If you have to go 7-8 man protection to help out, then that might be the best way for this offense to move the football.
I like it.
Hope you enjoyed that segment, and once again, I appreciate those guys for Stadium and Gale for contacting me and wanting me to be a part of their show talking about LSU. I know it's LSU in Florida week, so I really appreciate those guys for having me on, and give them a follow, subscribe to them, whatever you can catch their podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, pretty much wherever you listen to a podcast, that's pretty much the best way to go and subscribe to them. So, and also they're on YouTube as well, and that's actually where you were able to see those clips on their show on YouTube. So make sure to give them a follow, and they do a great job of breaking down and covering the Florida Gators all season long. So appreciate those guys. Now we're going to transition into some high school football. And as always, we get you started on the Player of the Week. This is Week 6. It's hard to believe that it's Week 6 already. But we're at that point of the year where we're in the middle of district play. We're actually approaching Week 7. There are a lot of standout performances from Week 6. And once again, I appreciate all those high school coaches for sending in their nomination. Everybody that we talk about on the Player of the Week show and on GridironFootballUSA.com was nominated and sent in by the coaches. So coaches, if you want your player to be mentioned on the show or also on our website, make sure to send in your nomination. Deadline is every Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. So make sure you send your nomination if you want your player to be in the running for Player of the Week. And after a couple of weeks of going through the air with either a wide receiver or quarterback winning Player of the Week, we go back to the ground game. I won't spoil it for you, but check out our Week 6 Gridiron Football Player of the Week countdown. Hello everyone, I'm Chase Lejeune from Gridiron Football. Here with me for the third straight week in the road, Tyler Barrows becoming a regular right here on the Player of the Week show.
Great to be back.
It's great to have you back, Tyler. And yeah, another week in Louisiana high school football, and wow, the season's flown by. Like we're approaching Week 7. This is our Week 6 Gridiron Football Player of the Week, and right before you even know it, it's going to become playoff time.
Oh no, it's crazy to even say that. I mean, I remember Week 1 like it was yesterday, and we're already about to be at Week 7, so it's crazy. But looking forward to some good playoff football definitely coming down the road.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to keep on doing this throughout the playoffs too. Obviously, there's going to be less and less teams when we get through the playoffs, but we'll still have a Player of the Week when we get to playoff time, and that's really the moment where you want to be Player of the Week, especially when it's win or go home situation.
Well, lights are on.
Yep, but Tyler, first, before we talk about the Player of the Week, I know you were at Madison Prep, and I got a chance to see a little bit of Port Allen earlier this year when I called the game against Episcopal, but that's when Madison Prep played against Port Allen, and actually, a sneak preview, you're going to be hearing the quarterback's name from Madison Prep on this list here today. But big win, 39-0, very impressive game for Madison Prep to get a victory.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, honestly, on all sides of the ball, all phases of the game, you had the offense, defense, special teams. They all played well, and great performance by Talon. I mean, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he was just throwing the ball, lining it up, and yeah, they did what they needed to do. And on to this week's game with U High, and it's going to be a great one.
Ooh, that is going to be a really good one.
Yeah.
I bet you're going to have your popcorn ready when actually covering that game.
Will do. I am going to have my popcorn ready, and it's going to be fun, but really interested to see how this Madison Prep team stacks against this UI team.
Well, that's going to be most likely the district championship right there. So it's going to be a really good one to watch. And then make sure you go GridironFootballUSA.com, obviously for the recap of that game, because that's going to be a big one. But Will, who's also an intern for us, he's got a big one too this Friday with Scoutenville and Zachary. That's also going to be up there for whoever wins that game is in the driver's seat for a district championship too. So that's going to be a huge game on Friday. So 2 huge games. Check out both their recaps at the end of Friday, and also catch their articles during the week too. Both of them do an excellent job, as well as Lucas for us. Luke does a great job too, and I'm sure he was happy this past Friday as the Bel Air Bengals finally got a win this season, and so he gets to write about a victory. So I know it's been a tough year for the Bengals, but congratulations, Coach Wade and Bel Air, and getting the victory over Broadmoor this Friday. And then if you haven't got a chance to watch it or check it out, go to Gridiron Football as well. I have recaps from the LSU game. Been a tough week for LSU against Tennessee. And then Turnley's Catholic is the game I covered too. And Turnley's Catholic has actually snapped the 2 longest winning streaks in the state this year.
Oh, no way.
So do not play Turnley's Catholic when there's a winning streak on the line, because Turnley's Catholic snapped it twice. Now, Tyler, we're actually going to talk about the Players of the Week. And this week's been a good week, and once again, I have to thank all the high school coaches that sent in their nomination. We really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, we only mention the players that you submit to us. You take time of your day to submit these players to us, so we're going to mention everybody that was submitted, and that's just our philosophy here. You take a couple minutes of your day, we'll make sure your player gets submitted for the Player of the Week and make sure that we mention them. They might not be the Player of the Week, they might be an honorable mention, but we'll make sure to mention those guys. Their picture is going to be on the video, their name is going to be on our website, on our article. We do our Player of the Week article that comes with the video. So we'll make sure that your player is going to be mentioned when we talk about them on the show. But before we go into the top 15, Tyler, we're going to run through the honorable mentions, and there's a lot of them this week. Because this week, I think we had about a little bit over 30 players that were submitted. So we're going to have a top 15, but these are the guys that just missed out on the top 15, and we'll run through them. So the first guy is actually a very familiar name for one of us sitting here in this room, and it's Scotlandville's quarterback, Zay Tset. And Zay Tset, he is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the entire state. I mean, this kid's not talked about a whole bunch. I mean, you talk about Ricky Collins, you talk about Eli Holstein and Arch Mann, all these guys. Well, Zay Tset is in the same district as Ricky Collins and Eli Holstein, and he's really good too. He's a Division I quarterback as well. He threw for 269 yards and 4 touchdowns this past week. Up next, Airline running back Trey Jackson. Actually completed a pass for a touchdown. Was 1 for 1, 26 yards and a touchdown pass. So we have to mention his receiving numbers. 6 catches, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also had 9 carries for 50 yards rushing. So he did a little bit of everything. Kind of like what Taysom Hill did this past Sunday for New Orleans Saints.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Do it all.
Darren Thomas, 14 carries, 119 yards. Had 4 receptions for 93 yards. So that's 212 yards of offense and a touchdown. He plays at Jules Sumner High School. So Jules Sumner running back Darren Thomas for the Cowboys has himself a pretty good game. Averaged about 13 yards per touch. So pretty good there. Now we had a lot of P.J. Martin for De La Salle as our running back. But it's actually another running back for De La Salle that's on the honorable mention list. Jeremiah Wills had 11 carries for 159 yards, averaging 14 yards per carry. A long run of 53 yards, and then also had a catch for 12-yard touchdown. So really good performance. Shows you that the running back depth is there at De La Salle.
No kidding.
Terrebonne running back Alvin Selwestein had 14 carries for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's been definitely, so far, the year of the running backs, considering all the quarterbacks. Winfield cornerback Trey Starks, he's listed as a cornerback, but had a 50-yard touchdown run, a 70-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, a 40-yard touchdown reception. So scored 3 touchdowns in 3 different ways, but he still found the end zone for Winfield. Another running back, Red River High School running back Leonard Mosley. He is a big boy to bring down. He is a big guy to bring down to for the Red River Bulldogs, who ironically is actually blue. If you never know, they're Red River,
Really?
But they wear blue jerseys. That is true.
That's a little mixed up.
Yep. Well, that's just how they roll at Red River. Gushada. 16 carries, 203 yards, and a touchdown for Leonard Mosley. 2 Country Day players were submitted by the coach. Coach Chetta submitted both these guys. Actually saw both these players play when they played Episcopal earlier this year. Jack Swing is a really good football player. 13 carries for 174 yards. He had a kickoff return, actually 2 for 60 yards, and a punt return for 10 yards. Jack Ibieta, who's actually the younger brother of Justin Ibieta, who plays quarterback at Tulane. So he plays on the defensive line, so totally opposite from his brother. 8 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs, 1 forced fumble, and 5 quarterback hurries. So
have yourself a game, big fella.
Yeah, right. I mean, he was everywhere that night. I mean, stacking up the stat sheet. Devin Orjuan, a familiar name we've called on here for the Player of the Week show, brought to you by Gridiron Football. Had 23 carries, 231 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he actually probably should have had 5 because he had another 60-yard touchdown called back because of penalty. So he was a penalty away from 5 touchdowns that night. had 2 receptions for 24 yards and 3 kickoff returns for 69 yards. So, good day for Devin Ordwan.
Yeah, no kidding.
Has a really good season so far for Mamu.
Yeah.
Mamu High School. Logan Watson, a linebacker, another defensive guy
There we go.
on the list. 7 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and an interception. Wow, have yourself a game, Logan Watson.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, these are honorable mentions. Like, we haven't gone to the top 15 yet. U High, and speaking of a player that you might be seeing this week, a little preview, Seth Gale, wide receiver. He is actually one of Andy Martin's top receivers for U High Cubs. 7 catches, 157 yards, and 3 touchdowns this past week. Cecilia running back Rich Collins is another familiar name right here that's been on this list. Had 2 touchdowns rushing and had 2 catches for 44 yards for 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
So 4, basically 4 touchdowns off about 8 touches. So half of his touches went for touchdowns. Good game for Rich Collins. Toby Franklin from Haynesville High School. I actually talked to their coach on the Chase with Jace this past week because he got his 200th win in high school football. His dad was a legend. He had over 300 wins at Haynesville, a lot of state championships. They become the first father-son duo to ever have 200 wins or more.
Oh, that's awesome.
So in Louisiana high school football history. So I got a chance to talk to David Franklin, and they have a big win, I believe, over Oak Grove. That's a huge win for Haynesville. And Toby Franklin is the reason why. 24 carries, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, had an interception on defense, averaged 35 yards a punt, and then had 2 kickoff touchbacks as a kicker.
Oh, wow.
So
he does a little bit of everything.
Yeah. All 3 phases of the game he impacted. And that was one we just were thinking about putting in the top 15 at the end. But we had so many good performances, he was just outside. Treville Frederick Jr. from Jeanneret. 7 catches, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And a 2-point conversion. He's a tight end. So that's some pretty good stats for a tight end.
Tight end, okay.
Yeah, we haven't had many tight ends this year, so it was good to get.
See the receivers,
the running backs,
quarterbacks. See the safeties here and there, but all right.
Yeah, I think the first time we've seen a tight end this year. Yeah. Opelousas running back Deshaun Ford, 20 carries for 130 yards. Was definitely the future running back for Opelousas. Terra fullback / defensive end Deshaun Beauchamp, 5 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a 60-yard touchdown in the football game on offense. And then we have 2 players here from Martin Luther King. The quarterback Joseph Rowley, who was on our list previous this year, 7 for 9, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, didn't throw a lot of passes in the game, but you throw 2 touchdown passes off 7 completions. That's pretty much all the work you need to do for that night. Martin Luther King running back had 72 yards rushing and a touchdown, Marcus Robinson. And then Plaquemine running back Devin Lanoux. How about the Plaquemine Green Devils undefeated right now under Dre Trosclair? 12 carries for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns. The first offensive guy for Plaquemine we actually had back-to-back weeks. We had a defensive back. 2 different defensive backs for Plaquemine make the top 10. Right. And so we finally get an offensive player for the Plaquemine Green Devils.
Yeah, switched up a little bit.
So
see the offense getting in rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, Plaquemine's looking really good right now with an undefeated season. One of the few undefeated teams left in high school football. Now that is all of your honorable mentions. So those are all the honorable mentions. Congratulations to all these guys for great performances, and thank you for the coaches that sent these honorable mentions in. But when you only got 15 guys to pick and you have over 40 names to deal with, there's going to be some good performances that are left off the top 15. So, Tyler, that means we'll go inside our top 15. Just a couple of guys that missed their honorable mentions, but that's because of these top 15 performances that are off the chart. So start us, Tyler, with number 15 on this list.
All right, let's get started. At number 15, we have Northlake Christian running back Cameron Kasnov.
Cameron Cosnave from Northlake Christian had 25 carries, 157 yards, and 5 touchdowns in a 42-0 win over Springfield. And Cameron Cosnave was a guy that was on our list last week and had a big game. He was a touchdown-making machine for him, and he had another 5 touchdowns here today. So big performance for Cameron Cosnave, and scored 5 of the 6 touchdowns in that game for Northlake Christian. And the Wolverines get a victory over Springfield because of Cameron Cosnave. A couple good performances for him. The running game's really picking up for Northlake Christian.
Yeah, I mean, what we were saying earlier, it's the week of the running back. I mean, they're finally showing out and starting up. But let's get into number 14. We got on back to North Louisiana. At number 14, we have Benton High School wide receiver Pierce Russell.
And Pierce Russell was just this close of being our number 1 guy.
He was right there.
He was like literally
it was
right
neck.
there. And there was this quarterback that beat him out.
Yeah.
There was a guy throwing him the football that beat him out. But he had a huge performance last week, and this offense may be the hottest in the state right now. They put another 60 burger, as I like to call it. So they scored 62 points against Natchitoches Central. They've lost 2 games this year where they scored 50 or more points. So the offense is rolling. Gray Waters is Pierce Russell's quarterback, and they just have a great relationship with each other, and the chemistry is showed because they played a lot of football together, and it showed. Pierce Russell had 9 catches, 155 yards, 3 touchdowns. Again, a 62-15 win over Natchitoches Central. And this offense right now for the Benton Tigers is rolling right now. Yeah. I would hate to play that offense.
Yeah.
I gotta have nightmares. I was my defensive coordinator right now.
Oh man, going to number 13, we have Denver Springs safety Deshaun McBride.
Well, we've talked about defense, so that's a great transition right there. Right to it. But Brett Beard's doing an excellent job with Denham Springs right now, and everywhere he's been, it's usually been that 3rd year is where he takes that next step with the program, and he's doing that with Denham Springs. I believe their only loss this year was against St. Thomas More, but Deshaun McBride was at safety, had six tackles, 3 assists, 2 PBUs, and the reason he's at number 13 is because he had 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns. One from 60 yards and then one from 55 yards in a 33-0 win over Live Oak. So you figured out for the first time they threw it his way that they wanted to throw it to him a second time. Well, they did. And they paid for it. And number 12 is a familiar name that you cover and you're familiar with a whole lot.
Yes, sir. At number 12, we have Madison Prep quarterback Tylen Johnson.
Only a sophomore for Madison Prep, and he's filling in the shoes of Zion Chris, who is a legend at Madison Prep. Won them at the state championships, playing quarterback at ULL, and it was like the quarterback position will be just fine at Madison Prep. 11 of 16, 235 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 39-0 win over Port Allen, which is a game that you covered, and you saw him light it up against the Pelicans secondary, which is actually a pretty good defense, Port Allen. But big performance for Tylen Johnson. We go into number 11.
At number 11, we have Martin Luther King, wide receiver and free safety, Durance Allen.
Durance Allen plays both ways and impacted the game in both ways for Martin Luther King in a 49-6 win over Terra. It's like a mic drop stat. Like the only thing Coach Rowley put was 2 receiving touchdowns, 1 pick 6 on defense.
That's it.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about how he played. He scored on both sides of the football, and he was just a football magnet when he had 2 touchdown catches and an interception return for a touchdown. 3 players from Martin Luther King made at least an honorable mention or a top 15 performance. So, yeah, it was a good day if you're on the Martin Luther King football team.
Yeah, great week for that program over there.
We go inside or top 10.
Yep. At number 10, just rounding off the list, we have quarterback Zion Kohler from Jeanerette High School.
And Zion Kohler went off for Jeanerette, 19 for 25, 347 yards, 4 touchdowns, had a 2-point conversion. But unfortunately, with all that, they still ended up just short of winning the football game. Lost 41-34 to Hanson Memorial, but 26 of those 34 points were accounted by Zion Kolar, and they lost to an undefeated team now in Hanson Memorial. So it came against a really good football team in Hanson Memorial. 4 touchdowns, 347 yards. Yep, Zion definitely gave them a shot to have a chance to win that one.
For sure.
Now, at number 9 is another quarterback. We got a string of quarterbacks right here in the next couple of picks for a winning program. So tell us a little bit more who number 9 is.
At number 9, we have E.D. White quarterback Jake Sternfels.
Jake Sternfels played a difference last year when E.D. White made that run to the state championship. They went undefeated, and they actually defeated St. Thomas More in the playoffs with Walker Howard. That was a team that knocked them off last year. Came this close winning the state championship against U High, and Jake Sternfels played quarterback for him, and he's playing winning football. That's what you have to do in this offense. 13 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, was efficient throwing the ball. They don't throw the ball a whole lot, but he definitely took advantage when he definitely threw the football. 8 of 10 for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a 5-touchdown performance against a really good team in Patterson in a 56-10 win. So Jake Sternfels, have yourself a day.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how you get the win, as long as you get the win at the end of the day.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he only threw the ball. I mean, he only had, 13 carries. And so 21 times he actually really touched the ball, which is not a lot in an offense, but he had 5 touchdowns. So he was definitely very efficient when he took advantage of those opportunities. And continuing on that quarterback train, we go to number 8 with another one.
Yeah, number 8, we have Letcher High School quarterback Dwayne Winfield.
He's a good one. He really is, and he doesn't get the pub as much as Ricky Collins or Eli Holstein, and you can just go through the whole list of those great quarterbacks. But he's a Division I quarterback. Dwayne Jenkins is coach. He's a quarterback guru. He's coached some great quarterbacks. One John Trey Kirkland, who played at LSU. Will Narcisse, who was in part of the quarterback competition a couple years back at LSU, played at St. James, but he said he never seen a quarterback put his team on his back like he did with Winfield last year in the playoffs run. And Dwayne Winfield, 12 for 20. He's a dual threat. 12 for 20, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 19 carries for 136 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So add the numbers up. He had 311 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns in a 42-7 win over South Terrebonne. And one more side note, what Coach Jenkins sent me was that he has 1,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing this season. So that is a definition of a dual threat.
Literally, to the T definition. Great season he's having so far.
Yeah, definitely. But after the string of quarterbacks, we go to a wide receiver at number 7.
At number 7, we have South Plaquemine wide receiver Dejon Smith.
And Dejon Smith, wow, every time he touched the ball, it seemed like it was going to be a score. 5 catches, 151 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Had 5 carries, 39 yards, and another touchdown. So 4 touchdowns off of 10 touches of the ball. And they needed all those touchdowns because it was a 37-35 win over Houma Christian. And he scored 4 of those touchdowns for him in a game that came down to 2 points. So I'm sure Coach Lyle Fitt is really praising the efforts of Dejon Smith. He sent in this nominee, and I mean he was the MVP and made a difference in that football game for him.
No kidding. I mean, have yourself a game, NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of guys with a lot of games up here.
Yeah.
As we go to number 6.
Already at number 6, we have Holy Savior Menard running back Ruben Seastrong.
Yeah, Coach Justin Charles, a friend of the show, friend of Gridiron Football, and former Louisiana College head coach. Was a coach at Holy Savior Menard. Ruben Seastrong's one of the talented running backs you talked to me about before the season. And he definitely showed it in full display against Pickering in a 51-0 win. 16 carries, 224 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
No.
Yeah, the running backs, it's been a really good, we talk about the quarterbacks, but the running backs, it's definitely been a pretty deep year. And we go into the top 5, and
let's get it.
Yeah, there's some really good performances with really, I hate to spoil it, but we're going to see a lot of guys that run the football in this top 5.
It's the week of the running back, like we were saying earlier.
Yep.
At number 5, we have Leesville High School running back Xavier Ford.
Leesville is known for their running backs, with Cecil Collins was a great one at LSU. And you have Eddie Ford caught the earthquake game touchdown at LSU. Leesville has been really known for the running backs. Xavier Ford was like, yep, they just keep on just churning them out at the Leesville. The Wampus Cats, one of the most unique mascot names in the state.
Yeah.
Xavier Ford had, listen to this. Do you think he was worn out by the end of the game? 32 carries, 359 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and a 41-18 win over Washington Marion. Wow. I bet he was tired after the end of that one.
I bet he was. Just a tad bit. He did it all.
Wow, 32 carries, 359 yards, 5 touchdowns. And Leesville's another team that runs football a whole lot, and they relied a lot on Xavier Ford. And with those stats, I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, hey, keep riding the train, might as well.
Number 4 is another player that is a very, it seems like we could just name this, rename this list in honor of him, because he's on this list every week. But he was actually our player of the week on our debut, our inaugural player of the week this year. He won it. So reintroduce us to number 4.
At number 4, we have St. Edmund running back Kevon Johnson.
A freshman, a 9th grader. He's only in 9th grade. 22 carries for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns. Had 2 interceptions on defense. So he impacted the game both ways. He's one of the top leading rushers in the state. And like I mentioned, he's only in 9th grade. He's just started high school. He's got 3 more years after this. So it is going to be scary what he does when he's a senior. But he makes his list by rule. If you won or player of the week, you cannot win it again. But we can rank you as high as number 2 if we want to. And Kevon Johnson, a great performance. Number 3 is a very reliable guy that has produced throughout his whole high school football career. He is a leading rusher in program history for this team. So tell us a little bit about number 3.
At number 3, we have Rose Pine running back Grant Ducote.
So this is like a FYI for Grant Ducote. Just letting y'all know that Andy Bryson, our boss, he voted Grant Ducote number 1. But by vote and by really default with these guys in the room, he actually went down to number 3. So just to keep that out there for Coach Ducote out there, Andy Bryson was at Grant Ducote number 1. But by rule, by default, with the votes in here, he went down to number 3. But great performance for Grant Ducote and Rose Pine. He had over 30 touchdowns, close to 40 touchdowns last year rushing. They rely, and he's been playing for since the beginning of time for Rose Pine. 241 yards, 32 carries, 5 touchdowns, and they played Logansport, who's a 1A power in the state of Louisiana. 42-22 is your final score, and I believe that broke the single game record for Rose Pine for rushing. So congratulations to Grant Ducote. He's been a phenomenal player for them. He's the coach's son, Brad Ducote's son, and he's been a workhorse over his whole career. And keep in mind, they worked him a lot last year, and their quarterback's Ethan Fry, who's committed to play LSU for baseball. That you'll see playing LSU baseball this year. And they still rode him quite a lot. But great performance. Congratulations on that for Grant Ducote. What a career he's had, and it's still going on for Rose Pine. Number 2 and number 1. Number 2, we're giving love to a dying position at number 2.
Oh, yeah. Familiar name, Kaplan fullback, Caden Campese.
I think he's Will's guy. I see him fist pumping already. He's the fullback.
Oh, yeah.
The fullback is not dead yet, and Kaplan is keeping it alive.
Yes, sir.
And why not Caden Campese? I think we should actually rename this list to the Caden Campese list. Every week he's been on here, and he's just misses number 1. He was our number 2 performance of the week. Has 33 carries for 304 yards, 2 catches, 17 yards, had 5 rushing touchdowns, had a 6 touchdown in the football game receiving. So 6 touchdowns and a 49-35 win over Crowley. 304 yards on 33 carries. I guarantee you by the end of the year, Caden Campese, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to get number 1.
Oh, he will.
He's going to get number 1 eventually. It just so happened not this week.
No,
he fell just
there.
short from number 1. So, quick recap before we go into number 1. We've had we had 1 wide receiver, Amarion Miller. We've had 2 quarterbacks. Last week, Ray Walters.
Yeah.
We had Oak Grove's quarterback, Jackson Bradley. We had a couple running backs, Kevon Johnson from St. Edmund. We had a Ouachita running back, too. So we've had a mixture of a couple of positions, but a lot of it's been North Louisiana.
Yeah.
And right now, we're going into Central Louisiana. And you're going to say he's mentioned on here as a safety, but we'll call him as a running back / safety when you mention him. But this is a team that runs the football a whole lot. And we're going to tell you who are number 1. Now, this is week 6. Or number 1, week 6 Gridiron Football Player of the Week is Tyler.
Number 1, Avoyelles High, Decareyn Sampson, running back / safety.
Decareyn Sampson is a running back for Avoyelles. They have another running back, too, Carlos Bazart, who's like 250 pounds. He's a bowling ball.
Yeah.
They give him the football a whole lot.
Okay.
And they give him, Decareyn Sampson's the other guy, the smaller guy, the faster guy. But he gets the football, too, and he's pretty good as well. Yeah. Now, he only touched the ball. And you might consider, like, okay, number 2 touched the ball 33 times. Number 1 touched the ball 12 total times in the football game. Only 9 carries. So you say, why is he number 1? He had 274 yards rushing off 9 carries. That's like 30 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And had 5 touchdowns off 9 carries. Had 3 receptions. 2 of those 3 receptions went for touchdowns.
Okay.
So he had 7 touchdowns in the game off of 12 total touches. Unbelievable. They scored 68 points in a 68-34 win over Oakdale. And here's a nugget for you, for Will, about this stat, about Avoyelles. They don't punt the football. They do not punt the football.
Like, at all.
No, they don't punt the football. It can be 4th and 50 from their own 2-yard line. They will not punt the football.
Okay.
They will onside kick it every time. So if it were up to them, their offense their defense wouldn't see the field.
Okay.
If it were up to them.
Yeah.
Because LCA, I actually wrote a game recap for that. Avoyelles had an 11-minute drive. There's only 12 minutes in the high school
That's the whole quarter.
Football quarter.
Yeah.
11-minute drive. LCA got the ball in the next drive, scored in 30 seconds. Can you imagine how much LCA's defense must feel after that?
11-minute drive. That's wow.
Decareyn Sampson, wow. 9 carries, 274 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 catches, and 2 of them went for scores. And Avoyelles, that's a tough offense to defend, especially when they want to keep the football the entire 48 minutes of play. Which they actually make that a goal of theirs. But Andy Boone, I mean, that's a tough team to prepare for, and it was tough for Oakdale to stop Decareyn Sampson. Congratulations, Decareyn. You are a Gridiron Football Week 6 Player of the Week, and we'll try to set an interview up on the Chase with Jace with Decareyn and Coach Andy Boone for the show. And actually, you can check our most recent Player of the Weeks. They've been interviewed. Amarion Miller's been interviewed, Gray Walters, and Pierce Russell. I had to include Pierce Russell after being number 2. So you can check those interviews out on the Chase with Jace. Tyler, any final thoughts on? Did you agree with this list that we have up here today?
I know we were having our discussions earlier, but I think the list was great. I really would have loved to see Caden Campese at number 1. I'm just sorry, I'm biased to the fullback position. It was a fullback. But other than that, it was a great list. I mean, we had some great performances in Week 6, and can't complain about it.
Caden Campese is going to be there.
Yeah,
he's going to be number 1. He's going to be number 1 by the end of the season.
Caden Campese, trust me, I will make sure you are on that list. I promise.
But just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're going to get rewarded.
He will.
And yeah, coaches, make sure to send in your Player of the Week nomination. I'm gonna send it actually earlier than normal because I'm gonna be out towards the end of this week. I'll be out of town, but make sure to send in your Player of the Week nomination. Deadline's always the same at 6:00 on Sunday night. Make sure to turn that in. We'll make sure to mention everybody that has been submitted. Over 30 coaches, 30 submissions. So appreciate all y'all guys. Keep on doing what y'all doing. And good luck the rest of the season for y'all. We appreciate all the support. Thank you all for watching this show. I know it's actually going pretty big the last couple weeks. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in and sharing the show. And make sure to share it on Facebook. Go Gridiron Football. It's there. It's on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you can watch it, you can watch it. Luke does a great job of doing videos on Instagram and Facebook to kind of give a little previews for it, and then Will Lanphier does a good job of putting the videos in during the segment too. But yeah, it's another great segment here for the Player of the Week show, and catch us next week as we go to week 7. We're going to that final stretch late towards district play, and we get right into the playoffs. For Tyler Barrows, I'm Jace Lejeune, saying so long, and enjoy your football week. Congratulations once again for Decareyn Sampson for being our Week 6 Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week. We'll see y'all next week in Week 7. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for everything that you need to get caught up on Gridiron Football. We have it for you right there on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also our website at gridironfootballusa.com. Congratulations once again to Decareyn Sampson. Man, he has electrifying speed. He can flat out run the football. Anytime you only have 12 touches in the football game and score on 7 of those touches, that is really impressive. And the Avoyelles Mustangs, that is a very tough offense to prepare for with that double tight, double wing offense that they run with Coach Andy Boone. Like I mentioned, they want to keep the football as long as they possibly can. If it were up to them, their defense wouldn't be seeing the field. They onside kick a lot of times. They do not punt the football. It's very hard to prepare for an offense like that, especially for a short week. But it was tough for Oakdale to stop an offense like the Mustangs. Got a chance to always talk with Coach Andy Boone and his player Decareyn Sampson, who is our Player of the Week. Obviously, you're not only just number 1 when you're Player of the Week, but you actually get a chance to interview with me when you win Player of the Week. We did it with Gray Walters and Pierce Russell last week. We also did that with Amarion Miller the week before. So this is something we've done with the Player of the Weeks as well. And check out this interview I did with Andy Boone, head coach for Avoyelles High School Mustangs, and his star running back Decareyn Sampson, who's coming off a 7-touchdown performance. Check out the player. So what we'll do is we'll have a show. So we'll do a little interview that we do on the show. And Decareyn, first I'll start with you. Just what does it mean just to be the Player of the Week in the whole state of Louisiana, knowing that there's a lot of talent in the state, that you're going to be the top guy, the top dog from this past week?
I mean, it's good that y'all recognize me for being the Player of the Week.
Yeah, and I'm going to go off your stats and what you did. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, you only had 9 carries, but you had 274 yards and 5 touchdowns. So if you do the math, you average 30 yards per carry. That's pretty unbelievable. And then also just here's a little extra, the kicker to it as well. You had 3 catches and 2 of them went for 2 more touchdowns. So you only touched the ball 12 times total, but you had 7 touchdowns. That's unbelievable, Decareyn. I bet you didn't have much dirt on your jersey that night.
No, not really. Not that night.
So out of those 7 touchdowns, what do you think stood out to you? Was there a touchdown or 2 that really stood out in your mind that was probably the best one? If you had to pick one of those 7 as your best run or your best touchdown, which one sticks out to you?
Probably when Coach Boone called the pitch, and then I was running to the sideline, and he had a good angle on me, and I just cut back in, and then I scored.
Wow. I mean, your speed. We talk a lot about your speed, and you're one of the fastest players in the area. Just how long have you been really working on your speed, and when did you realize that hey, nobody can really catch me?
I mean, when I grew up, like since I was little, I didn't know I had speed. I just had to know how to use it. Like once I got on the football field, oh yeah, I could use speed to get to the sideline and just run away from everybody.
And when did you first play football? At what age?
I probably like 7 or 8.
7 or 8 years old, and you kind of knew quickly that hey, I can be pretty good at this football thing right here, huh?
Yes, sir.
So last year you had, I believe, like 2,000 yards of offense last year, and it's a loaded running backfield. I mean, it's not just you; it's Carlos too. I mean, it's Joshua as well, Eric, Quez. I mean, it's a loaded backfield. So, what does it mean to have that type of performance, knowing that there's like 6 or 7 running backs in the backfield that share carries for y'all?
I mean, it's good, but like you gotta do what you gotta do with your little monster carries. Like, if coach give me 9 carries, I gotta do what I gotta do.
And I know that it's like really good inside outside game because I know Carlos is the big, like 250-pound bowling ball that nobody wants to tackle, and then they pitch it to you on the outside, and it's like once you get some open field, you're pretty much gone. So, what do you like most about playing in this type of offense, knowing that the run is going to be really heavily involved, and knowing your style of play and knowing the team style of play, that you're going to get a lot of opportunities in this offense?
I mean, I like it because it's smash mouth football. You just run over everybody or run away from somebody.
Yeah, it's definitely smash mouth, and I know Coach Boone brings that mentality to the team. And right now, Decareyn, what's been like recruiting wise? Has it been really quiet for you as of right now? I know you're only a junior, but still, like, has it been really quiet for you, or have you been receiving some interest?
Oh no, sir, it's been really quiet right now.
Okay. Any schools that you personally want to go play for, or you grew up wanting to play for that school?
I mean, I grew up watching football, but like I really haven't put thought to it yet. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, is there any running back? I know you've been watching football, since you're a kid, but is there any running back that you really like to watch, maybe on YouTube, or just watch his games personally, just because like he reminds you of you? You know, when you see him running the football, it could be a college running back, it could be an NFL running back, any guy that kind of say, hey, he runs just like me.
I mean, not really. I like watching all running backs because you can learn from all, but like I don't have one in particular.
And in this game, Karen, would you say that this was your best game you've ever had? Would you say, or were there any games that were close to this one?
I mean, it probably was my best game, based off stats. Like, I believe I could have did more, but like, yeah.
What do you think you need to do more? I mean, if you had to give yourself a grade off of Friday night, what grade would you give yourself?
I'll probably give myself a B.
A B, okay. Yeah, I know that you're pretty tough on yourself there. I mean, you have a 7 touchdown game, have a B, but what do you think you need to improve on in order to get that A+ performance later on?
I need to improve on some blocking and like kind of breaking a little more of leg tackles.
Okay.
But other than
Decareyn, what's your 40 time, by the way?
Well,
if you ran it.
Back in the summer, I had gained a little weight, so like 4.6, like a 4.6.
Okay, not bad. And I'm gonna get back to you, Decareyn, but I'm gonna go back to Coach Boone. So Coach, this past week, Decareyn's performance, I mean, it's crazy to look at the numbers: 274 yards and 9 carries, and he took advantage of every time he touched the football. I mean, the mantra, take most of your opportunities. That's exactly what he did. What is your evaluation on how Decareyn played besides the
the eye popping numbers with 7 touchdowns and 274 yards rushing in the game.
Well, I mean, we take what the defense gives us. Oakdale was keying on the inside. They had all 11 people stacked inside. So it was just we could have done anything that night. And he's every time he'd come back to the sideline, he'd say, "Thank you, coach," because he knows his carries are going to be limited. So he would score a long touchdown. He'd come back and he'd say, "Thank you, coach." So because he knows you can look at the play and know, okay, he's fixing to score. We don't even run the play and you look, okay, he's fixing to score. Mm-hmm. We know he's going to score right here because you can just see what they're lined up in. So even on the touchdown passes, they were totally ignoring him. So just slipping in behind everybody. But he knows he's got to get better at that blocking. He's got to get better at the cutbacks, vision on the field. He's not always going to be the fastest person on the field. So you got to learn to cut back, things like that. So, but he's got 2 running backs in the backfield with him that he knows, he's competing against the other team, but they all want their carries,
Mm-hmm. And how do you really manage that with as a coach? Because I know we talked about before the season how many mouths there are to feed in that backfield. How you just really – I know it's a good problem to have, and how do you manage that with all these –
Well, it's really not to manage because they all play a certain position. So Decareyn is on the left part of the offense. Josh is on the right. Carlos is in the middle. So it's really nothing you're looking at saying, "Oh, I got to do this." You're just calling plays. And usually they even out because you're hitting all parts of the field. But some teams will put their weaker guys on one side, and if they got a weak guy on one side, we're going to exploit it. But we're just looking at the defense, and I'm calling plays like that. So sometimes one of them may get a few more carries, but normally it evens out. They usually are all getting around 20 carries.
In this double wing offense that y'all do run, it's very hard for opposing teams to prepare for because they just don't see a type of offense like this every single day. So when you're playing against an opponent defensively, how much advantage do y'all feel like every single game knowing that the defense, they can't prepare for something like this in a week?
Well, we have no tendencies as far as you can look at another team's offense and say there's a strong and a weak side. We're even 99% of the time. We're even, so there's no strong and weak. You can't really key on one running back. You can't really key on motion. If you're reading the guards, we do fake reads. So it's really, we can figure out what you're doing pretty quick. We can counter it, and then the no punting is our advantage. That's our biggest advantage we have over everybody else. Is they feel like they have to punt. We don't. So we call plays knowing we have 4 downs. So it really makes it a lot more fun, a lot easier to call plays when you have 4 downs.
Yeah,
no matter where you're out on the field, you have 4 downs.
Yep, right. And this, especially in this offense, it helps you in those 4th down situations because you get yourself 4th down 2 and 4th down 1 and picking 3 yards a pop.
And honestly, we hadn't had many 4th down situations this year. And I think we're around 80% on 4th down conversions. Mm-hmm. But I don't think other than Lafayette Christian and Turlings, we haven't been stopped in our other 4 games against competition our size. We've scored every time we've had the ball. So those 2 schools are the only ones that stopped us.
Yeah, and those are 2 really good good football teams that are actually playing each other. Well,
you figure that's 2 of the top teams in the state, 2 of the top teams in 4A, but also the state.
And this is not just a ball control type of offense, like you mentioned. Besides those 2 teams, nobody could stop you. I mean, look at the points that y'all scored 70 or more points twice, and y'all scored 68 this past week against Oakdale. So this is a very efficient, high-scoring offense. And I know we talked about that if it were up to you, you wouldn't want to see your defense even step on the field if it were up to you.
Yeah. I mean, we've had games like that where the other team had the ball 1 or 2 minutes in the half, where we had it the whole half, things like that, because you start recovering onside kicks. But we also can score fast, if you cheat, because a lot of teams, they try to cheat against us. They will guess. They'll go to our motion, put more people on the right. They're just kind of desperate. They'll guess. So you can take advantage of that and score fast, or against those teams that are really good, you can score slow, Mm-hmm. But we're averaging 50 points a game right now, so we've been scoring pretty fast.
Yeah, I know we had a photographer shoot a lot of pictures for the LCA game when y'all played the LCA, and I believe he told me that y'all had there were instances where y'all had 10, 11-minute drives, and especially that's a really good plan when you're playing against an LCA offense that is very explosive and can score. But I know it's probably frustrating on the opposing defense knowing that they were just on the field 11, 12 minutes, and they may have to go back on the field again. And make it
well, I mean, that's the only way you can compete against those guys, is your offense is your defense. So, we had, I think one of our drives was 21 plays, converted several fourth downs, and you just hold on to the ball, try to keep it away from them just to keep it close. Yeah, they were scoring really fast. I mean, their quarterback's something else. They got skill guys everywhere. So, we understood that. So we know, look, we played Turlings. I think we ran 80 plays against Turlings, to their 21. And a lot of it goes to they're scoring really fast. And we're just trying to hold on to the ball the whole night. So, against the teams that are better than you, they're superior, you're trying to grind it out.
And how do you think that your team matched with? I know last year y'all made the quarterfinals. I believe it was the first time in school history. And y'all came really this close to defeating Manny, which has been really the main staple in Class 2A the last couple of years. And I know you try to schedule tough pre-district. And how do you think those really going up against Turlings and LCA, just matching with those guys? I know it was really good. Like stepping stone to play those type of football teams, and it gives you a measuring stick of where you think you're really as a program.
Well, offensively, we can say, okay, well, we can play with anybody. Offensively, I think we can play with anybody in the state. Defensively, we can see where our weaknesses are at. When teams spread us out, it makes it tough on us because we want to be a physical team, and they spread you out, and you got to play a lot of technique, things like that. So I think offensively, we know where we're at. Defensively, we know where we're at. So it's definitely helped us. And also, last year losing to Manny, making it all the way to the semis, we were just, one or two plays away from being in the dome.
That's right.
They wanted really bad. So, playing those two teams right there, when you play some of these other teams, it's like, okay, well, this is a little more competition, and it's not near stuff. It's last week against Oakdale, they scored a few points on us, but offensively, I don't even know if we got into a fourth down. It was just we're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a tough. I mean, this is a tough offense to prepare for. You don't really face an offense like this, and especially an aggressive team like yours that does not want to give the football away. I mean, we're up to you. You would control the football game for all 48 minutes of the football game.
Oh yeah, look, we've been recovering onside kicks. That's demoralizing to the other team, and that's what we want. We want to demoralize them. When we just have a long drive, we come back and get the raw ball right back. Think about what that does to them mentally.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, it wears really defenses down both physically and mentally because you get tired physically and you get tired mentally. I mean, it definitely puts a lot of stress on those football teams. And right now we're at about the halfway point of the season, a little bit past that. And I know you have a couple games coming up, so I believe you'll have Menard this week, Coach.
We got Menard tomorrow night. They always play us tough, so we're expecting a hard-hitting football game, and then we go to Southern Lab next Thursday.
Wow. Okay, and so that's another big test, especially a team that's always been physically pretty big, and they've got athletes, so this will be another really tough test.
Yeah, they won state last year in their division, and they always sending kids D1 players everywhere. So we're looking forward to going there and putting on them.
And Coach, what do you want to see from your team, just wrapping it up, just in this final stretch, knowing that we're about to head into playoffs in a couple weeks?
I want to see us finish. It seems like every year we always have that one game that trips us up going into the playoffs. Just the one game where we relax, we're not quite prepared. And we got 4 games left. I see us win out. We've never won a district championship at Avoyelles High. Even though it's not our goal, the district championship is not our goal. That'd be great. That'd be a little icing, but we want this state championship. And So, but we just don't want to trip up. We want to finish these games, and I think we should win out. And that's what we got to do. We got to finish.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that's really what football entails. Is just finishing football games and finishing up top. And Coach, I'm gonna wrap it up with Decareyn as well. Asking just two more final questions. And Decareyn, what do you want to see from your team the next couple of weeks, and what are your goals for the rest of the season personally?
Well, for my team, I just want everybody to be physical and just keep going. Then my personal goals, I'm trying to reach 2,000 rushing yards for the season and a couple more touchdowns. Other than that, yeah.
Okay, you know where you're at statistically wise to 2,000 yet, or are you kind of like, about 1,500, 60? You kind of know in the ballpark of where you may be at right now?
Yeah, 1,200 right now.
1,200. Okay. Well, four more. Well, let's see. Yeah, four more games coming up, and you got the playoffs coming up, and you count playoff stats too. So that'll all come up. And I believe you had 2,000 yards last year, so that's going to be back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, which that's very rare to have. What would that mean to you? That go back-to-back doing that?
I mean,
Yeah, you didn't have it.
I ain't really have 2,000
Last season he had like 2,000 combined.
Yeah, like all purpose. Okay, so this will be the first time he would try to get 2,000 yards on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Because he got hurt broke his ankle last year, week 10.
Okay.
He didn't play playoff games.
Yeah. Yep. So basically it would be, still 2,000 yards back to back, and all purpose. That's still really good if you have a chance to do that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any guys on the offensive line? Final question to Karen. You gotta get the big guys up front a shout out too, for creating those big holes and allowing you to get those tough yards, especially 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I want to shout out to my whole offensive line. It got tight end Ethan Russ, Xavier Pryor, Reggie Alexander, Maddox Duford, Kayvon Martin, Travis, and Jordan Sago.
All right, I know they're gonna love that. They're gonna love that shout out.
Carlos, Joshua Williams, and then my QB, Nicholas Koska.
Yeah, Nick's always he's been a veteran back there. He just runs the offense, and he's just very, very efficient. He's like a general back there. And Decareyn, I just want to say congratulations again for being our player of the week. And we actually had a video. I'm not sure you saw it, but we counted down the top performances and we showed your highlights from the football game. And your picture is on their website as well right now, being our top player of the week. And right now, like the last 3 weeks has been either quarterbacks or receivers. So it's finally good to get back to the ground game, get another running back there. We start off pretty strong with like 2 or 3 running backs to start the season. And it's been more of the quarterbacks and receivers, but it's good to get back on the ground game, get a running back involved.
Right, thank you.
Not a problem, man. Good luck the rest of the season, and Coach as well. Good luck the rest of the season too. And just final thoughts. What would you have to say about this game? Where do you think this performance, that you had a lot of really good running backs over your career at Avoyelles, where do you think this performance kind of ranks?
We've had some really good performances. I've had Carlos had about a 400-yard game last year, but just as far as the touches, pretty special. And look, we're going to end this season. I think he'll end up with 2,000 regular season. And I think Carlos and Josh's regular season are going to be right at 1,500 yards apiece. So think about that. 2 running backs over 15 and 1 over 2. Who you ever heard of that?
I don't think I've ever heard about that, Coach.
Yeah, I think we can make a playoff run. We'll have well over 7,000 yards rushing.
And last year, y'all had around that number, right?
Last year we had right at 6. We had right at 6 last year.
Okay.
But we're averaging. We're averaging more than that. We're way ahead of last year's pace.
Well, the Mustangs like to run, and I know that y'all like to run. 6,000, 7,000 yards rushing, and nobody in the state does it better than the Avoyelles Mustangs. So
yeah.
Coach, once again, I really appreciate it. Thanks for all that you do to help us out. And if there's anything else that we can do for y'all in the future, feel free to let us know. And, yep, we're looking forward to seeing the Mustangs make that playoff push come November.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Coach. Not a problem. Have yourself a good rest of the day and good luck this week as well.
All right. You too.
Yes, sir. I'm going to wrap it up right here for the Chase with Jace. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Gridiron Football, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts at Gridiron Football on Twitter, Facebook. Go visit our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Appreciate y'all guys for joining in with me today, and hope you enjoy the rest of your football weekend. Until next time, I'm Jace Lejeune saying so long, and as I always end the show, I always ask you, what are you chasing for? And obviously, all these teams are chasing for a win on Saturday, but what are you striving for? What are you chasing for? Have yourself a good night. Enjoy your football weekend. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.